Today we're going to be talking about schedule versus routine and how to build a lifestyle of learning. Dina Wood is with me here today, and she's wrote many blogs for Sonlight's blog and a lot about this. So I thought it'd be great. Dina, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Dina Wood, and like Stephanie mentioned, I have written several blogs for the Sonlight blog, and I really enjoyed talking about schedules and routines, so they invited me on for this. I've been homeschooling for 10 years now, and I have four children ranging from 15, almost a driver, down to 9, and so I've got a little tribe of people with me all the time. So I'm happy to be here today though.
Yes, thank you for being here. So we were talking previously about schedule versus routine, and it really resonated with us. And we thought it'd be really good to explain the difference and then explain how you can use both and kind of build them off of each other. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between a schedule and a routine.
Yeah. So it's kind of a funny story. When I first started homeschooling, almost a decade ago, there was this really popular book out among homeschoolers, and it encouraged you to schedule every single minute of your day. And this sounded wonderful to me at first. And so I decided, I am going to do this. We're going to have every minute scheduled. And it lasted about 2 weeks. And I thought I was going to just pass out one day. I just thought, nope, it's not working. It never works because I'm always behind. And I kind of thought that I had just failed at it. I mean, I've always been a scheduled person, and I just thought, well, I'm just not cut out for this. Um, and so I started to kind of reframe the way that I thought about it. And I thought, I'm not really as scheduled of a person as I am a routine person. And I realized that in the mornings, I always do the same thing. Every single day when I wake up, I have the same steps that I go through. And I thought, I wonder if I could take that and apply it to homeschool. And so I started doing that, and it made all the difference in the world. So to me, a schedule kind of lends itself to times, and it says you're going to wake up at 8:05. You're going to brush your teeth from 8:05 to 8:07. And of course, not all schedules are that rigorous, but it just kind of makes me feel a little bit more bound to the clock. Um, and it's really easy for a schedule to become your master. And so when you reframe your thought of a schedule versus routine, and you kind of go for the routine part first, it really helps you to put the schedule in perspective, and it makes the schedule work for you instead of you working for the schedule. So a routine is more something that we would do naturally. It just kind of is the flow of your day.
So you talk a little bit about what they are, and they both probably have some value in your homeschool and in your life. Let's talk a little bit about why both are important.
Yeah. So, kind of like I was saying, a really rigid schedule works for a lot of families. And if it works for you, then go for it. However, it didn't work for us. And so we kind of went the routine to schedule way. But they're both important. And there are different seasons where we kind of fall more into a schedule. And then there are seasons where we fall more into our routine. And since we've built our schedule off of our routine, it's really kind of easy to drop that schedule for, say, the summertime or something. Just kind of drop that schedule off, and your routine is still in place because we didn't really, make any major changes when we went to the schedule variety, but we just made it work for us. And I think that a schedule is important because you don't want to be doing school um, until 9 o'clock at night if you start at 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that's just too long of a day. And I think you can kind of pitter the day away if you're not really careful. So a schedule saying we're going to have formal school time from 8 to 2, I think that's really healthy. Um, And so they're both very important. It just is kind of a difference in the way that you attack it.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that you build one off of the other. Can you talk a little bit about how you did that?
Yes. Um, so the first thing that I did was I thought about the things that are naturally already in our schedule, or I'd say our routine. We normally wake up at the same time. And so rather than saying we're going to start school at 8 o'clock, you know, I thought, no, my kids are really waking up at 8 o'clock. So we're going to start school at 9 o'clock. We'll get breakfast done. And, you know, so think about those things that are already in your day. And I think a lot about the anchors of our day. I think everybody has different anchors, but ours were breakfast time, lunchtime, and dinner time. I think we're kind of
Hmm.
food people. um, and so I kind of took those things and built a routine off of those because after breakfast, we move right into couch subjects. After couch subjects, everybody's awake and ready for the day, and they're usually the freshest at that point. And so we always kind of just try to move right on into math because we attack that subject when we're fresh. And then about mid morning, for some reason, there's a little bit of a lag. Everybody gets kind of tired. So we'll stop and we'll have a snack and I'll read out loud to them. And then, of course, at lunch, for the longest time, when my kids were really little, I just was so tired by the time lunch came around. I mean, it just felt like we had gone through a marathon. Of course, they weren't waking up at 8 o'clock at that point. It was more like 5:30 or 6. And
Yeah.
so we had been awake for a long time. Um, and so we kind of started this little tradition where we would have a picnic lunch in the living room and watch 2 episodes of I Love Lucy. And it was just like that moment in our day where we just kind of took a break, did something fun together, and then we gathered back up. And my kids knew after these 2 episodes of I Love Lucy, we start back. And so building a schedule off of a routine is basically just taking those cues from your day that you already have built in and working your schedule around it. The thing that you want to be careful about with scheduling is you don't want to say, oh, kids, it is 10:15, math time is over, put your books up so we can do something else. Because they might have just gotten to the point where they were understanding it, the light bulb was coming on, and they needed a couple more things to practice.
Yeah.
If you interrupt that learning process too early, you can really you can really hurt that progress. And so rather than letting the clock dictate what time math is over, you can just say, oh, we're a little bit late on this, but we're going to keep going and we'll just stay on that routine. And maybe our schedule's a little off, but our routine's still on.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk a little bit about um, how to establish and follow them, and you said something great earlier. You said you kind of go through different seasons, and so how do you know when something needs to be switched up, or how do you establish a new routine or a new schedule when something's not working?
Right. So there has never been the same year in my school ever.
Yeah.
Um, every year has different challenges. Every year your kids are 1 year older. Um, I have found that having teenagers has changed everything about our lives. I mean, I mentioned just a minute ago that my kids used to wake up 5:36, then it was 8 o'clock. Now they would rather wake up at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know, that's just another stage of life that is just vastly different. Um, and I love it. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But you have to adjust your routine for those seasons of life. And so now, we start a little bit later than we used to. And at lunchtime, we're not really that tired because we've only been doing a few hours of work. And so, and my big kids don't really eat breakfast anymore. They're not breakfast kids now. So their first meal is lunch. So all of these things that you just kind of tweak that routine as it goes. And a lot of the time you can tell that something's not working when you have to fight the routine. So if you are having to fight every morning to get your child up, maybe they really do need an extra 30 minutes. And so you just push back that wake up time 30 minutes and try again. And if it's a little easier to get them up that day every time, then that might be the best time for you to start your day. Um, a schedule, you have to be careful that your schedule's not fighting your natural routine.
Yes,
Because if it is, you've already lost. It's too bad. So
absolutely. Um, I just want to mention that like the older kids get, like there's a time period there in their tweens and teens where they really do need more sleep, and they kind of, they might want to sleep till 10 and you're like, what, lazy, get up, but it is really important to follow those natural sleep patterns that they might have. Now, if they're staying up till 3 in the morning, that might, be something
right.
you need to work at. But for the most part, they do need a little bit more sleep at that. They're growing. They're doing
That's
things
right. That's
while
right.
they're sleeping.
And
Um,
I would add to that,
yeah.
um, during the school year, we kind of try to stick with a little bit of a schedule. But when summer hits, I try to take away the schedule, but leave the routine,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. And so, and of course, we take a break from math, we take a break from, writing and things like that. But we never take a break from reading ever. And we never take a break from Bible study because those things are not subjects to us. That is just life. And so if you build your schedule off of your routine, it's a lot easier to just say, okay, school is out for summer. So we're dropping the schedule, but we're going to keep the routine. And you might let them sleep a little bit later in the mornings, but you're still going to start your day with that couch time, Bible study. You're still going to, after lunch, I always have my kids read. That's just our after lunch activity. You sit with your book and you read. Coming in from a break or a recess is a great time to have them sit and read. Um, but those expectations that you're going to read every single day, whether we're in school or not, that just creates a lifelong learner. They learn that that's not a school subject, that is a life subject. We do it every day.
Yeah. That was going to be my next topic, but it was like, the lifestyle of learning versus the schooling. And so I think, incorporating reading into your lifestyle really does help develop that. And that is really schedule versus routine,
Hmm.
lifestyle versus schooling, so that really does tie into that. Um, let's talk a little bit about ways that you can establish the lifestyle of learning in your family. You talked about having a reading time after lunch. Are there any other things that you find yourself doing to make sure that your kids are thirsty to keep learning even when it's not necessarily school time?
Yeah. Um, I get really tickled with reading the Sonlight Connections Facebook page. Um, and I saw something on it the other day. It might not have been there, but it was somewhere that I saw it. And it said that this family went into an exhibit or something, and it was the zoo. And the worker there, he said, "Are you a homeschool family?" And they said, "Yes, we are. How'd you know?" And he said, "I can always tell." He said, "Homeschool families want to know everything about everything." And I thought that was so funny because it's true. I mean, you're always thinking of learning opportunities.
Mhm.
And as a homeschool parent, that's just always in your mind. If you take a vacation, it's not really a vacation, it's a
Yeah.
learning experience.
Yeah.
And I think all those things establish a lifestyle of learning. Um, but as far as like day to day, I think making sure that you are doing a Bible study every day, you're reading, those things that are important to you every single day. Be intentional about doing them, even when you're not really in school. You know, I think that's important. Make sure you have anchors in your day that your kids know I'm doing this, so now I'm doing this. Um, when they just know what to do next, there is so much comfort for children in that. They know those expectations. Every night when I tuck my kids in, their question is, "What are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing tomorrow?" And for the longest time, I thought I've got the funniest kids that just always want to know what tomorrow is, but there's such comfort in that expectation of I know what's happening tomorrow. And so um, they always they always crave that routine, and it's important to us that that we give that routine to them and we make sure that they're comfortable in their day. Another benefit of routine, though, is I know we've got a lot of Charlotte Mason fans in our little group, and Charlotte Mason did a lot of habit training. And if you have a daily routine, it is so much easier to form a habit with it, because you always, brain research tells us that you attach a new habit to an already established habit. And so a lot of people do this, like if they want to study their Bible in the mornings, they think I will drink my coffee and study my Bible because they're already drinking coffee no matter what. And so to add that into their schedule, attach it to something you're already doing. And so if you want your child to start feeding the dog, then you attach it to an already established part of their routine. So maybe right after they eat breakfast, they go feed the dog. And that just becomes a natural part of their day. They just know that the cue, I'm done with breakfast, go feed the dog. My kids know that when they finish their dinner, they have to put their plates in the dishwasher. That's the expectation. And so they just do it automatically now. So that's the other benefit of having a routine versus a schedule, is that you get to kind of form habits, piggyback those habits onto already established parts of their routine.
Let's talk a little bit. You mentioned something about anchors, and I know what you're talking about, but maybe it's good to sort of decide for you to talk about how to decide what anchors your day and how that helps.
Okay. So to me, an anchor is a part of your day that is non-negotiable. You're going to do it no matter what. And because it's non-negotiable, it's a vital part of your day. Like I said, we're mealtime people. We like to sit around the table. Dinner time is our table meal. Like we are all at the table at dinner time. Um, and so to me, anchors are just those things that you're going to do every day, no matter what. And if it's not a mealtime, it could be maybe you have, well, your coffee every day.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe you do that in the morning. I know a lot of kids that drink coffee. I thought it was disgusting until I was 30. But, you know,
Me too. Me too.
I mean, maybe maybe your children who drink
Yeah,
coffee, maybe you can kind of piggyback on that for something.
yeah,
But to me, those anchors are just those things in your day that you are already there before you try to establish a routine or a schedule. They're just there. And it's good to use those anchors as kind of a comfort for your kids, that they
yeah.
know what's coming next.
Got it. I love that. I love that. So we talked a lot about a set, or, routine and a schedule. Do you have anything else that we missed or that we should add here about, how, why, how?
Yeah. Well, I think that I would just kind of go back to what I was talking about at the beginning, where, you know, I bought that book and I thought, this is the key. This is it,
Yeah.
you know, and I was so disappointed when we couldn't make it work. And I knew that a lot of people had made it work and it was so good, but it just did not fit our family. And so I think it's so important for homeschoolers, especially, to remember that, this may not be for your family. This may not be something that you need that rigid of a schedule. Maybe you need a little bit more routine than schedule. Maybe you do need a little more schedule than routine. And so it's just so different. And every family who homeschool is really taking their kids through life, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's really one of the things that bothered me so much when my kids were little, um, was the interruptions, the day-to-day interruptions. And it was, always somebody at the door or, a phone call, or people don't realize that when you're homeschooling, you're involved.
Yeah.
And so, and I used to get frustrated by it because I would look at my clock, and I would say, we're behind now.
Yeah.
But I've realized that those were my kids' favorite moments.
Yeah.
When grandparents came and sat and talked and played in the middle of the day with them, there is nothing that I could have taught them during those couple of hours that would have been more impactful than that time. And when, we've entertained people, just kind of spontaneously, that has been so good for them to see me be hospitable, even when we have other things to do. And so I think that it's so important not to let our routines and our schedules master us. Life is full of interruptions. It's just full. And so if you never teach your kids how to handle that and how to just say, you know what, we will come back to this tomorrow, or we're behind, but that's no big deal. We'll make it up. I think that's one of the greatest things that happened to my kids was to be able to adjust their schedule and to understand that people are important.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you so much, Gina. Thank you for joining me and talking all about schedule and routine.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Bye.